Hey, in this quick video, we're going to cover group decision making using the RICIE model. Now, in a lot of instances, as you are on site as a team, there are going to be things that come up, problems that need to be solved, stuff you guys haven't seen before. There will be things that are getting in the way, ways you've been producing that are maybe less efficient, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get things going in a better way? How do we be more productive as a team? How do we be more cohesive? Now, the maybe the easiest thing for me to do would be to establish a one flat protocol, one flat system, the way of doing everything. However, because of the variability in painting, the circumstances that come up, the situations that you find yourself in, a lot of times it's better to actually empower the team itself to solve your problems on your own, but doing so as a team. And so the RICE model is a proven method that works phenomenally well to help you guys make decisions while you're in the field when there isn't a standard operating procedure available. So let's cover the basics of the RICE model. The first thing is the R in RICE, recognize. Recognize and define the problem. Everybody on your team should be empowered, enabled, and feel like a first class citizen so that they could say, hey, I noticed this, and this seems to be a problem, and we should figure out how to do something about it. Now, for a lot of the problems that you encounter, especially when they're encountered by a younger member of the team, there might be a quick and easy solution. But I would advise those senior members of the team, the crew leaders, the master craftsmen, to let your team learn a little bit. Let your team come up with solutions and ideas. You might be surprised. But then there's also going to be times where you encounter something that, gee, you don't know what to do about it. This is where the RICE model comes into play. So first, we just have to recognize that there's a problem. We can't pretend like we know everything. We can't pretend like we've seen everything before. And what we really don't want to do as leaders is make stuff up on the fly and not know, pretend like we know what we're doing, but really we don't actually know. So that's the first thing, recognize the problem. Then we're going to identify multiple plausible solutions. Now, this is a group effort. And for this particular instance, we want to employ something like nominal group technique. What nominal group technique is basically it's taking each individual member, giving them the opportunity to write down a list of solutions. Okay, so actually take your notebooks and write down as many solutions as possible and do it as individuals. We want to do it written and then we want to present it later, because what often happens when we're in a group, you might have a member who's a little bit more vocal or a member who is a little more senior, and once they speak, that's what goes, right? The problem with that is that we are prone to individual biases. We're prone to things like recency bias, which is the things that were easy to recall. The last time we did this, there's all kinds of things that we could pull in to our current memory bank and use that. And if a person is more extroverted, they talk more. If a person is more senior, then their position tends to anchor all of the ideas around that one idea, and all the other ideas kind of revolve around this first idea, and that might not be the best idea. And so by writing it down, separating, coming up with multiple ideas, multiple solutions, and really trying to come up with as many as possible, you're actually going to get more people in your team to speak up, and you're going to get some ideas that maybe nobody's thought about before. And one of those crazy ideas might be the ticket to really solving the problem in the fastest way possible. Next, you're going to choose a course of action. Now, this is the hard part because everybody has all of their different ideas. Everybody's coming together. And once you've got all these ideas, each person is going to kind of present the best of their ideas to each other. But we can only pick one solution. And so how do we choose? How do we reach convergence around that idea? Well, there are a couple ways we can converge on an idea. We could have a complete consensus where everybody has to agree that the decision that is made, that's the one that we're doing. That is usually the best for total team buy-in. We want team buy-in, especially if the process that we're creating or the way or method of doing the thing, if that's going to be a huge part of the project. So imagine you're on a very large project and you've encountered something that you don't know how to do. You aren't sure how to do it, and the solution that is picked is one that half the team doesn't want to do. What do you think are the odds that your team is really going to do any of it? Well, they're not. They're going to be pretty upset that they have to do it the way that half of them said to do it, and the rest didn't. Or even worse, you've got the leader making the decision, and nobody wants to do it that way. That is a recipe for disaster. So by having everybody reach a consensus and it being unanimous, it's going to take longer to arrive at the decision, but everybody will get buy-in. That's for big things. If it's something small and inconsequential, it's not going to affect the outcomes. People are indifferent as to, what it is and how we do it. Maybe it's best for that leader to just kind of step up and make that quick decision. So as a team, you might have to figure out what's the best way to do it. Do we have the leader kind of come up with a thing and then we go for it? Or are the stakes a little bit higher and we need to slow down and let the group come to a consensus on that course of action? Now here's the key. Once you choose that action, we got to go with it. We all got to be bought in. Team buy-in on this one, right? And we're going to implement the solution. If we're going to implement that solution, we got to be all in on it, okay? Our points are at stake, our customer satisfaction is at stake, and our bonus is at stake. So if we're going to implement the solution, let's make sure that we do it all together as a team, make sure that we're on the same page and that we implement. But once you start implementing, take a moment and evaluate whether it's working or not. The key to this whole thing working is understanding whether the idea is actually making measurable results. And if you are not humble enough to accept the fact that your idea might not be the winner, that your idea might not be the one that is chosen, your idea might not be the one that gets us result, if we could be humble enough to accept the fact that we don't know everything and sometimes there's a better way, as a team, we're going to move faster, we're going to have more progress, we're going to come up with ideas and solutions that solve the problem, and as a team, we'll be gelling. That's the RICIE model. And so next time that you are facing a challenge, a problem, remember to recognize it, identify multiple solutions, choose a course of action, implement, then evaluate. That's the path to being better craftsmen who are masters of your trade.